So hello and welcome again to the Davis County Community Spotlight Podcast. This is Kristen Sherlock, your host, and we are here at the Davis Catalyst Center in Kaysville, Utah with our student-run, student-produced team. We have Colin, Xander, and Cody today, and we are excited for our guest because she's also from Kaysville.
I'm actually from Layton.
She's from Layton.
Yeah.
Her shop's in Kaysville.
My shop is in Kaysville, but I live in East Layton.
So this is Michele Smith. Michele is the wonderful owner of Treasured Again, Vintage Antiques and Uniques.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is kind of fun to have you here because you've got such a history in the community.
Well, we've just celebrated our 1 year. I can't believe that we've hit a 1 year anniversary.
Oh, over at the new location
At the
in
new
Kaysville?
location. Yeah, we opened on St. Patrick's Day last year. And so
Fabulous.
People come in, though, and they are like, oh, your store feels like it's been here forever because there's so much stuff. There's a lot of inventory, so it feels like it's been there for a decade, but we celebrated 1 year.
Now, you haven't been in this industry for a year, though. You have longer history.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about how you got involved with antiques and collectibles.
So
how did that start?
Really, my picking and treasure hunting goes clear back to childhood.
Okay.
When I was 7 years old, our house burned to the ground.
Oh, no. And where was
And
this house located?
We were living in Georgia at the
Okay.
time. And so we lost everything. And my mom was a single mom, and I think she was kind of taken advantage of back in the 70s. They replaced the home, but not our contents. And so here she was, a single mom of 6, and the only way that we could find and replace our dolls and our Barbies and our treasures was to go thrifting. So we would go to, back there it was Salvation Army.
Yes.
And we would go to yard sales. And I would come across a Barbie that was close to the one I loved, but not exactly. And I'd pick it up for a quarter.
Yeah.
Tells you about the time
Yes.
change. Or a nickel or a dime. And then maybe 6 months later, I would find the exact one that I loved. And then I would sell the one that I got for 50 cents and make more money.
There you go.
So I learned really early that I could buy low and sell high, and that I could find treasures. And I kind of, over the decades, just developed an eye. It's really funny. I kind of have this sixth sense. I will walk in and I won't even know what something is, but I will just have
You'll feel
a
it.
feeling that it has nostalgia or it has value. And it's just kind of a talent
I like
that I have.
that
Yeah.
you honed in on.
Yeah. And so I went on to just use it to supplement my home, to, on a budget, have nicer things. But after I got a bachelor's degree in elementary ed, and I was a school teacher, I used it a lot to get unique and historical items for my classroom.
Oh.
And then I got my master's degree, and I ran training departments. And then at a certain point, we decided for me to stay home and be a stay-home mom. And so I quit running training departments, and I just started taking care of my kids. And then my husband got laid off so unexpectedly.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was at that time in the late 80s, and it was just terrifying.
And how many kids do you have at home at the time?
So we had 3. So it was actually later than that. It was in the early 2000s. I don't know where I got the 80s from, but the 2000s. And it was, hard to find a job. And he had just sold $1 billion contract, the biggest contract they'd ever had. So we thought we were going to be there for decades. And they just cut his position throughout the whole company. They just eliminated that position through the whole company. And we were just devastated. And I had quit working, and it was just kind of a wake-up call for me. So I went back to work part-time so that he didn't have to just take whatever he could.
Right,
And
so
he
you
got
bought him time.
Yes. And I started selling on the side.
Okay.
So I started out of our garage. I would go and pick up items, and then I would sell them on eBay, or I would sell them on KSL or Facebook Marketplace. It all kind of evolved as those did. And then I would have 2 big yard sales every year. And they became notorious in our area. People would just come from all around for these
you
yard
need to go to
sales.
Michele's house.
Yeah. So it was just a supplemental for a good decade. It was just extra money. It was our Disneyland money. After he got his job, I just kept doing it, and it was just
It was
infectious.
fulfilling, and it made it fun.
Yeah.
So then how did it get to where it is today from there?
So I was
the
walking
popularity?
I was walking into NPS 2 years ago.
Okay.
And it was just always going to be a supplemental sidekick. It was never going to be, and it was the old Shopco building.
Okay.
And here above the pharmacy area was a big sign that said for lease. And as soon as I saw that, I said, that would be a great spot for an antique shop.
Yeah.
That would be such a great location.
Right.
Inside this NPS store that's all about treasure hunting. And I could not get that thought. As soon as I had the thought, it was cyclical. It just kept going through my head over and over.
It was looping.
It was. Every time I laid down, that would be a great spot. Every time and so then I thought, well, I should help my friend who's looking for a spot. Well, he wanted a spot that was bigger.
Oh.
And he was right. He was smart. It needed to be bigger. But for a
starter.
Without
what he was doing.
Right. But for a starter, it was perfect. So I went to my husband and I just said, I just feel like this is one of those things that if I don't go with it, I'm always going to wonder what if. And we were very fortunate. Our children, we were empty nesters. Our children, I had inherited a small, right around $20,000 from my grandparents years before. And I had held on to it in case our kids needed it for school or a down payment on a house or, something like that.
That's smart.
And just held on to it. And our kids were all very self-reliant and just kind of took care of all of that on their own.
You've got good
and
kids.
Had their own. Yeah, we raised good adults.
Yeah.
And they took on the path they wanted to. So this nest egg kind of sat there, and I just said, I feel like this is the time. This is what my grandparents, they were thrifty people. She was the school lunch lady, the head lunch lady in Jackson Hole. And he was the dairyman and the bus driver.
Oh.
And they were just the salt of the earth people.
Yeah.
But they were some of the original residents. And they bought their first acre for $700.
Oh, my goodness.
For an acre in Jackson Hole. And when they bought their second acre, they felt like I can't remember the amount, but, they thought that was highway robbery because it had gone up
They
so
would be
much.
really shocked at what I'm about to list an acre for over in Woods Cross.
Yeah. Well, and so anyway, when they passed, it got divided amongst the children and the grandchildren.
Sure.
And I had this nice little nest egg. So anyway, I couldn't get it out of my head, decided to do it, and I knew I had the name in my head, Treasured Again. It was just funny how everything just clicked, and it was just like it was supposed to be. So on the logo, on the T and the A, there are peacock feathers.
I noticed that, yes.
And those represent my grandparents. They raised peacocks.
Oh.
So that's the little nod to Grandma and Grandpa.
I love that. I love that. So then how did we go from Layton, being in the NPS store, to Kaysville?
So that was only 800 square feet.
That's not very big.
No. And so we outgrew it very quickly because the thing about vintage and antique is it's like a Walmart. There's a lot of different areas of interest. You have collectibles, you have clothing, you have jewelry, you've got
home teacups
goods,
and
home
furniture,
decor,
like all of the things.
Kitchen, mid-century modern, and truly antique. You have the man cave stuff, old tools. It just could be
anything.
Yeah. There's so many things.
So you ran out of space real fast.
Yeah. So we found another location on Gentile.
Okay.
Right by Twisted Sugar Cookie.
Yes.
And that was working really well, having the two, but it was kind of hard to bounce between two locations.
Sure.
And we had signed up for the Gentile on a month-to-month because I didn't know if I could handle two locations. Because we weren't even 7 months in when we found a second location.
Wow.
So
right.
It was,
you didn't want to feel like you're growing too big too fast and get it out of control.
Yeah. So we were there, and it was going well, and we had been there 6 months.
Okay.
And we had an inspection, and they found that the furnace wasn't up to code. So I called the landlord, and, the landlord had told me when I moved in that he wasn't going to do any big renovations because they planned to do a major remodel down the road. But I thought with being there for 6 months and having that income from our rent that he would just put in a new furnace. And he just said, I told you I'm not going to do any big things. And he goes, you have a month to get out.
Oh,
and
no.
I just cried for 3 days. I was just devastated. And again, he had told me up front, it wasn't that he didn't say, I'm not going to do any major repairs. It's just in my optimistic little mind, I was like,
it's
of
just
course,
a furnace.
It's just a furnace. And so here I was just floored, and we had just really gotten it organized and going
unpacked
well.
and settled.
Yeah. You know how when you move into a home,
takes you a hot minute
to get all the boxes open, and you move things, you put an area here, and it doesn't work.
To try to find the ideal spot for everything.
Yeah. So we felt like we had just caught our breath, and we're gaining a customer base and growing, and so we were really devastated. So we started to look for a place to move, and I knew I only had this 30 days, and the first 2 weeks I was going north.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go further south, but I had heard rumors that you'd have to sign a 5-year lease.
And the rents are more expensive.
Rents are so much higher. And my husband said to me, I kept coming back to this location in Kaysville, but I was like, it's too big. Well, it's funny. My husband said, just go talk to them and find out before you assume. And he's like, the worst they can say is it's not going to work, and and you'll at least
you're no worse
for
off.
yourself. So anyway, we loved the location, thought it was too big, but it ended up being perfect because when I talked to the MPS location and said I'm not going to be around much because I'm going to need to move, they said, oh, well, we hate to be giving you bad news, but we feel like you might want to know this. We're growing fast, and we're going to need that space back in a year.
Oh.
So then we figured if we had to move one, we might
as well move both at the same time. Yes.
So then the 4,000 square feet really made sense. And so we just got on it.
So let's tell our listeners, where are you located in Kaysville?
So right in that shopping strip mall behind Arctic Circle and the law offices and the car wash, it's right there.
Perfect.
Just
on Main Street
on
in
Main
Kaysville.
Street, where Bowman's is the anchor on the one end with the Dollar Tree, and then Binion Craft used to be on the other end.
On the north end.
And they're trying to get that Trader Joe's into that location.
That would be really fun.
That would be amazing.
So you're right there in between where the old Binion Crafts was and where Bowman's is now, in that strip mall on the east side of Main Street.
It used to be a karate studio. If anybody was familiar with the karate studio, that's the building that we took over.
So here you are now in your new location for a year at 4,000 square feet. You've combined your two stores. And what are some of your favorite things about the store that you have?
So I think we have loved having the extra space. We needed every square inch of it. In fact, people come in and they're like, wow, you got a lot of stuff. And I'm like, I know, we could take the Binion place. We could just never afford it. Like I said, everything can be a collectible, and I love so many things. It's really a challenge.
And you never know who's going to need something, so you might as well have a little bit of everything, right?
And we really do. I love that about our store, is there, regardless of who comes in, teenagers love the clothing and the jewelry. Moms love the home decor and the unique kitchen items, the quality, Men love the cast iron, and they love the old tools that were made to last, that were forged to be around till the millennium, They just, they used to make things to really last forever.
And you have a little bit of something for every interest, every hobby, every collectible.
Yeah, we really collection. Do. Yeah, even within the jewelry, there's the men's tie tacks and tie bars and cufflinks and watches, and so there's man jewelry as well as the women's jewelry as well. And yeah, we do. We have a lot to choose from. So when people come in, there's not a lack of variety for sure.
And what are your hours of operation?
So we're open Monday through Saturday, 11 to 6.
11 to 6.
We've been toying with opening at 10, so that may change in the future. But we thought about staying open until 7, but it really kind of dies down about 5:45. So,
well, follow your market, right?
Yeah.
Now, as if you're not busy enough.
Yes.
With what you're doing here, you have taken on a side project that I'm really interested in talking about, and that I think the community is just going to love.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it or introduce it?
Yeah. So we have what is called the First Friday Festival.
Okay.
And last year was when we started it off, and it really was where they say you develop something out of need. It 100% was out of need. Okay. I went to the city when I started the store, and after we opened in March, got my legs under me in April, went over and said, tell me about your summer festivals.
Sure.
And they said, oh, we stopped doing it 5 years ago. And I said, well, was it not popular? And they were like, no, that wasn't the problem. The lady who ran it retired. And when she retired, we went to the other employees, and the person who took her job said, I'll do everything she was doing but the festival.
Oh, everything but the festival.
And the festival was on Saturday. And so I said, well, do you have to be a city employee to do the festival?
That's a
and
good
they
question.
said, no. And I said, well, can I start it back up? And they said, yeah, we'd love that. We'd love to have it. We need to have one in Kaysville. And so...
So tell me about this First Friday Festival. Where is it located? I'm assuming it's on the first Friday of the month.
Yeah, so last year it was the final Friday because that was the Fridays, but we wanted it to be the first Friday. We just think that really sticks in your head better.
First
Friday.
I love that.
But too many were booked because we got in there, like I said, kind of behind the
8 ball there.
Yeah, we were a little behind on getting it organized. But it was good to get it started, get to know some of the vendors in the area, get to know some of the businesses that wanted it. And it grew and grew. And this year, because we were ahead, we got to request very first. And so we will be the first Friday, May through October. So the first one's coming up on May 3rd.
I love that we're going to have this podcast aired before then, so then people will know about it. And so May 3rd will be the first one. And then we've got all the dates planned out for the rest of the year, right?
Yeah, so every first Friday of the month. So I know that we are looking at May 3rd, and then in June, it's the 7th, I believe. Yes.
Yeah.
And July, it's the day after 4th of July, so I think that one will be really
That'll
big.
be a fun weekend filled.
Yeah, because it'll be Thursday through Sunday that people can do fun things.
Yes.
And then August 2nd, September 6th, and October 4th.
So we're going right into fall then.
Yeah, I
That's
think
nice.
with having it the first Friday, October starts out real nice that first week usually.
You're right. The weather is still warm. The leaves are just starting to change up in the mountains.
Yeah, we did it last year. We tried it in October, and the weather, it was not good.
At the end of the Friday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we are really excited because we've grown a lot of vendors. We do food trucks. We have horse-drawn carriage rides. The local carriage establishment, they are wonderful. Dell and Karen, they come and bring their horse-drawn carriage, and it's so fun. As it gets dark, it lights up at night, and they just do it right there around the park and take people on carriage rides. And it's just, everyone loves it, and they're so great to work with. They love to educate about the horses. Even if you don't take a ride, the kids can go up and pet the horses while they're waiting and getting loaded. Yeah. They're just wonderful people. And you can work with them for other events while you're there. It's lovely to do.
Weddings, reunions, anniversaries,
even a funeral, to have a casket come in on a horse-drawn carriage. It's just
I love
beautiful.
That idea. I love that idea.
Yeah. So they're great to work with. We have face painting and tattoo artists and a henna artist.
Nice.
Yeah, so you can come and get painted up, whether you're an adult or a child, which is really fun. Delicious food, just really yummy. And there's just cutest young kids that do a great job, and they do cotton candy and popcorn. And they do everything. I never met their parents till the very end, and I had to walk out to their car. They had them
because
come
the kids ran it.
They really did. 11 and 13. They came and talked to me and signed up in the store. They showed up and set up, and I had to follow them to the car because obviously they don't drive. So on the last one, I'm like, I'm going to go meet these parents.
Yeah.
And I walk over, and I'm like, I just have to tell you how impressed I've been because they've really done everything.
Have they signed up again to be another vendor this year?
I've got to give them a call. I haven't seen them yet, so hopefully they're planning to come back.
Are you still accepting vendorships?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so if someone wants to reach out to you about the First Friday Festival for Kaysville, how do they reach out to you?
So the best way is just to text me or come into the shop, but it's best to text to make sure I'm at the shop because I do have people who are there. So my number is 801-725-1994.
1994, like the year.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
so
we have flyers throughout the community. And, of course, you can come to the store and then find out when I'm going to be there if I'm not there. I'm there a lot, but, of course, I just can't be there all the time.
No.
And so if
'Cause
I'm not
you
there,
do podcasts like this with me.
Exactly. Well, and I have people who open for me so that I have a warehouse in addition to the store. So I have appointments at the warehouse.
Of course you do.
As well.
You're so busy. So what are we looking for still for the First Friday Festival? Anything in particular?
So more unique vendors. I would love.
Okay.
I have some that are coming later, but I'm really excited. We have a sourdough lady that's going to be doing sourdough this year.
That's great.
And I've got to get a hold of my honey people. My honey people haven't signed up. So if you do honey and want to do
I know a honey butter gal.
Yeah.
She's in my neighborhood.
Yeah,
Perfect.
so we would love honey to go along with the bread that'll be there. And then anyone who does the things that we already do have is I have a girl that does the crocheted animals.
Mm-hmm.
So we're good there. But a different, unique
craft
jewelry, craft,
yeah.
home decor. We
Yes.
had a guy last year who did beautiful woodworking, beautiful cutting boards made out of beautiful wood. But I do have a potter, so we'll have somebody who does
maybe some
beautiful
photography, some jewelry, some any kind of artisan.
Yes.
And you don't have to be a big person either. You can just be a small
and our rates
out of the
are
house.
so great. That's the thing. I'm not trying to make any money on the festival. It's not where we're trying to make a profit. We're just trying to break even.
But we're just trying to create something in the community. You and I were talking earlier about giving first. What is your motto?
Yeah, so our motto for the store is you get what you give.
Yes.
And we really feel like if we give a place of welcoming, a place of community, we're not just there to make a profit, but we're there to have a place where people can come and find unique items. Really, they're buying memories, right? They come in and they say, oh, this reminds me of Grandpa. Oh, this reminds me of Aunt Susie. Oh, this reminds me of my Uncle Bob. And we want them to come there and just feel like they can peruse, even if they're not going to buy something that day. And
I feel like your motto for your store bleeds into this, the First Friday Festival, that you get what you give. And so vendors come, give, people come support. We could really develop a really fun community here surrounded by this festival.
Yeah, I think the festival will grow, and it's lovely. In the hot months, we've got the splash pad right there. It's right next to the library, so we've got that nice playground.
So it's the park by the library off
Crestwood
of 200
and
North.
Fairfield. Fairfield is right there, and Crestwood are those streets. There's that cute cabin on the side in that little corner.
And that's where we'll have it on the first Friday of the month.
Yes.
Well, Michele, I'm so glad you came in here. And clearly, as a transplant, you must love Davis County if you've been here for this long.
Well, and I've been in Davis County for 30 years living in Layton.
So clearly you love it here.
We love Kaysville.
Yes.
Love the mayor. Love the city. You and I have met at the different events that are coalesced here.
Yeah.
I just love the feel, the support. I can't tell you how welcoming people have been. And even if it wasn't their jam, they're like, my sister would love this, my aunt would love this, my uncle would think this is cool. And they really do send in their friends and family. And we just appreciate that so much.
And that's one thing that I think can be said for all of Davis County. It's such a great place. Just come and stop for a minute. Mm-hmm. You're going to love what you find here.
Yeah, I agree.
And same thing with Treasured Again off of Main Street in Kaysville. And please do come to the First Friday Festival. Man, that's a mouthful. First Friday Festival in Kaysville, first Friday of the month, starting in May. All right. Well, Michele Smith from Treasured Again, thank you.
Hey, thank you for having me. Yeah.
And everyone, again, thanks for listening and following our Davis County Community Spotlight podcast. And thank you, students, Catalyst Center. We just really love you guys and for all that you do for us. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Thanks again.